You're good, Jerry.
Well, he's busy saving the world. Donald J. Trump has commenced to saving the world. They are getting the vaccine in England. The first person to get it today, if you missed it, was a 90-year-old grandmother named Margaret Keenan. The second person, the second person to get the vaccine is BB Cullinane. This is I've just read it. It's got to
Prince Charles.
I read it in the Daily Mail. William Shakespeare was the second person. I think he's also like 90-year-old guy in England. But
with his number 2B.
Hey, can I ask you a serious question? You're a smart guy. You pay attention to these things. It's this minor controversy now. They're saying, will they require people to get the vaccine? Will it be mandated? Will it be law? What do you care if you get the vaccine and your wife gets the vaccine and your elderly parents or grandparents? Why do you care if the guy next door gets it? Why does it matter? Got an answer for me?
No. Why does that?
Why did Trump care about the old argument about illegal immigrants coming here who weren't vaccinated, and now there's smallpox in California, but you can't get smallpox as long as you've been vaccinated, which you have. What do you care if illegal immigrants go to Disney World?
I suppose that maybe everyone doesn't have a smallpox vaccine, do they?
I know, but it's the same argument, which is what do you care? As long as you're covered and you can do what you need to do.
Because if illegal immigrants in California all get smallpox, it will be a burden on the medical system in this country. Will cost a fortune, but it seems like a problem down the road. I mean, if you want the vaccine, get the vaccine. Everyone, get the vaccine. They go back to work. They can go visit their mothers and fathers and grandparents and get the country moving again. You might even be able to, open that little neighborhood restaurant, that little coffee shop next to Target and Walmart. They might actually be able to go back to work. But if some, vaccine truther, or who's the most prominent vaccine truther out there? If they don't want the vaccine, good. I mean, not good, but who cares? You're going to get caught up in that now. I got the vaccine last night, by the way. I should have mentioned this right off the top. I got the vaccine.
Did you get the chills, loss of appetite?
I did not. I was in CVS, and they got the big sign, flu vaccines available, buying some stuff, and they said to the guy, can I get that flu shot now? I said, sure. Like 2 minutes later, I was in the little tent in the back of CVS getting a flu shot, which I haven't had lately, I got to be honest. So I got vaccinated against the flu, which, as we all know, is more dangerous and deadly for young, healthy people like me. But I started talking to the woman who, I don't know what they are. Are they nurses? Who gives you the vaccine? She came around. She had the face mask on. And she said they were all ready to go. They were already mobilized. They were going to start at at nursing homes and assisted living facilities. They already knew which facilities they were going to go to with the vaccine in a matter of weeks, I guess. So they're ready to roll. Everybody's ready to roll. It's before he leaves office in 1 month and 12 days. I think Trump is going to save the world. And you know what the beauty of it is? He won't take any credit. He'll be very modest and humble about it. He probably won't even mention it.
Did Rudy get it already? Do we know what?
It's a good question. Rudy is in the hospital, correct?
I know. Aren't you worried about the guy? He's not what you just described. He's not young and healthy.
We've repeated this line on the show probably every single time. There's nothing to worry about with guys like him if Chris Christie is still walking the earth. There's just nothing to worry about.
Somebody, one of the left-wing blue checkmark Trump haters, tweeted out the list of people around Trump who've gotten the virus, and it's long. I mean, Kelly, everyone, Kayleigh McEnany and Mark Meadows and Alex Berenson, the most prominent authority on the virus on Twitter, just tweeted back, spoiler alert, they're all fine. They're all fine. Nobody was on a ventilator. Nobody died. Even some of the older guys or fatter guys like Chris Christie are fine. I will say Rudy not only is older, I think he's 76. He doesn't look particularly healthy. He's had some issues, and he's in the hospital. But if this is, if he gets out, I mean, do we all have to agree that it's not a death sentence, even if you're old and somewhat unhealthy? I mean, Trump got out in 3 days. And he's old and, a little overweight. So, I mean, it's not, and I know you know that. I know it. You know, anyone who's paying attention know it. These fools, like these, I don't know, these teachers union people, they know it too. They're just pretending they don't know. They're pretending they might die if they go to work. But soon, hell, now people are all going to get vaccinated. Today, the big story is this old lady in England got her shot, and I'm sure she'll go about her life, and they'll be following her around, saying, "Look, she can go to the store now. She can go out to eat, and everything will be great." And then Biden will take over, and the world will go to hell again. Can't wait.
I'm still fascinated by William Shakespeare getting it. I like, and having to be second. Like, they didn't give it to him first. They have no sense of history at all in England. Like, come on, man.
That's a good point. Was he standing in line, like behind her? The world, as we know, has gone mad anyway. But I'm just reading a story. I just retweeted the story. Let me see where it's from.
Well, while you look at that for that, Jerry, here I'll just say this quickly on the vaccine. I'm much more interested in this part of it than the last 3 months of coronavirus. I think the way that societies decide to roll out the vaccine, who gets it, how they get it, how they distribute it, I think all that's fascinating. I do look forward to the movie a couple of years from now on Trump's coronavirus spell. Like, the idea that the president, God knows what they shot him full of, Jerry, and what he ordered them to give him that they would have never given to anybody else based on the fact that they had no testing of this stuff. But he was like, shoot me up or cut me, Mick, you know? And he's the president, and they're going, we don't know what the side effects to this stuff is. And he's like, put it in here. And they did.
He must have been the worst patient. Just
oh, my God, yeah.
Here's the story. It's from Campus Reform. I assume a website that tracks, the crazy left-wing bias of our university system. This is from yesterday. Students at Cornell University can be exempt. They don't have to get the vaccine as long as they're Black. Students at Cornell can use their status as, quote, a person of color to be exempt from the university's flu vaccine requirement. Quote, students who identify as Black, Indigenous, or POC, person of color, may have personal concerns about fulfilling the compact requirements based on historical injustices and current events, explains the Cornell University's vaccine requirement, FAQ. So you have to get vaccinated if you're white. You don't if you're Black. So get ready for this. I mean, get ready for it to
follow the science, Jerry. I mean, what did the science tell you all along in Boston, where I live? They've been telling us for months now that the African-American community has been hit much harder by coronavirus than anyone else. And they're trying to figure out why that is and what the circumstances are that make that so. Well, if that area is being hit harder, this was one of the big things that I think in the Moderna test is they were having trouble getting African-Americans to volunteer for the thing. And they needed to test it on the community that was getting hit the hardest. If they're getting hit so hard by it, why would they be exempt from it?
It's a good question, because you're going to see other pandering politicians. I believe Gavin Newsom has already done this, say we have to start the vaccine in the Black community, in the neighborhoods that the hardest hit.
That makes sense, right? But, that should be.
Well, no, you don't start with that. You start with the old people. You start in the nursing homes. Okay, let's compromise. Let's start with old Black people. Is that good?
Fine, but you at least he's trying to go where it's been most troublesome. That's what you do, right? You try and take the most effective approach. You would think it's the people that are hit the hardest. Saying that they're exempt for no other reason than historical injustices is follow the science, right? Follow the science.
And that's what's going to be. I think, though, you do what the woman at CVS told me. You go to the nursing homes, you go to the assisted living facilities, you line them up. Those people deserve it. It is. I live near one. It's the senior housing, and it's the saddest thing. We walk by all the time, and they have a common area that they used to gather, and you'd see them in there in their wheelchairs, and they're drinking their coffee, hanging together. They have yellow caution tape around the common area now. They have to stay in their rooms. And by the way, they've been in the rooms for 9 months, in their rooms, taking food deliveries and not meeting, seeing, talking to anybody. That's another one of these ancillary results we're going to be dealing with forever. Is these old people have lost their minds. When people finally get in to see their mothers and fathers and grandparents, they're not going to recognize them. They're going to be in the throes of dementia. They're going to be like our next president. They're not going to know what day it is, and it's going to be the saddest friggin' thing. And everyone's going to be like, well, whatever, they're not important. They don't matter. What matters is, Amazon and Target and the big box stores. They're important. As we know, the small businesses aren't important, and neither are the old folks, but they will get it first, I believe. You'll hear some politicians like like my congressperson, the completely insane Ayanna Pressley, who'll be saying you have to be black. They belong at the front of the line. But that's not biological. I mean, do you think it's biological, the reason they have such higher numbers?
I mean, I don't know why. I don't think so. No, but I don't know why it is. But it doesn't matter. If you know in your area that there is a group that is affected greater, you give it to them first. I would think, just like you said. Okay, you go to nursing homes. Absolutely. Who's next on the list of, by a much wider margin, they are affected by it? We know it's African Americans, or we were told it was anyway.
And you know what? There's 60 million people who don't need it. Those are kids. Kids don't need it. We should all agree that. I mean, I keep hearing politicians say 330 million people. We have to vaccinate 330. No, we don't. You don't have to vaccinate kids. I mean, we know that. You know that, right? Your children, 10-year-olds don't need to be vaccinated. They don't get it. They don't give it. And once adults are vaccinated, I think the kids will be fine, right? I mean, it might come back someday, but right now they're not a priority. Hell, we already know they're not a priority. They've been left by the wayside. Every kid out there has been, it's almost like everyone has stayed back in school for a year. It's disgraceful. And by the way, I think should be last on the list, teachers. Teachers, what do you think?
Because of the science, Jerry, right?
The teachers. Every day there's a new teacher. If anyone out there still thinks teachers unions care about children, they're not. Then you're just not paying attention. Every day there's a new story. Over the weekend, the teachers union in Chicago tweeted that the only reason people don't want kids back in people want kids back in school is racism, sexism, xenophobia, all this
misogyny.
And then the next day, Monday, they filed an injunction to stop the order to return to in-person schooling. Teachers will do anything and everything. And then this crazy lady in Oregon, this teacher in the Subaru, you saw her, right? She drove by a protest of lockdown, anti-lockdown people who just want to go to work. This drives me crazy. They're protesting because they want to work. They want to open their businesses. They want to go back to work. They're not asking for anything. They're saying, just please let me open my gym, open my restaurant. And teachers aren't just against that. They want to keep, the vacation going. 9 months of vacation is not enough for this crazy woman in Oregon. I'm trying to get her name. I just read it. She's I have it. Can we play this teacher in the Subaru, Colonnade? Because she went. I'm sure Turtle Boy will say nobody cares about her, but she kind of went viral and global and embarrassed her profession for everybody, because she just pulls up to a protest and flips out and says, "I'm a teacher."
Let me pull it up. I gotta pull it up for a second. Hang on.
One thing about the whole thing, Jerry, is that the virus it's sort of like the mirror in Snow White, right? It has shown people for what they are, whether they want to believe it or not. All the hypocrisy of, you guys can't do it, but I'm going to do it. And the teachers union is one of those, where it's sort of like everybody sort of had decided what they thought about teachers unions, but you just didn't talk about it that much. That tweet by that Chicago teachers union, I don't know how you could have been more absurd in showing you for your true colors than that one. And it doesn't seem to matter to people. Like, you just act like it didn't happen if you're a pro teachers union.
Who gets hurt the most? Why, when you have people when you have no in-person schooling, when everything's remote, who gets hurt the most? It would be
Ask any parent. It's the kids first.
The kids, but minority kids who don't have the luxury of having a parent help them there and don't have the best technology. They're the ones getting lost. It's the opposite of racism and xenophobia and special needs kids, of course. But it is amazing. I mean, it's not enough that these teachers unions have had 9 months off. They want to keep it going till next year. They want to, don't want to go back to work before Christmas and New Year's. I mean, let's just keep this trade. I think it's a simple solution. You don't have to come back to work, but you can't get paid anymore.
But what's the misogyny part of it, Jerry? Like, are only women are teachers? Is that the idea? Like,
I guess so. There's more. I was wondering that myself. What's the misogyny? I guess you're right, because there are more women, especially young. But
we don't. First of all, we don't recognize gender, right? Second of all, we don't profile. I mean, it seems like everything we've been told over the last 5 years to not do, somehow the Chicago Teachers Union did it in one sentence, and everybody's like, "Yeah, here, they make a good point." Like,
I want to play this. This woman's psycho. I didn't see this week. I wish
you're worse than Turtle Boy. You guys even watch the news?
What a random viral video of this lunatic. This woman.
She was By the way, Turtle Boy yesterday scolded me, VB, because I wanted to talk about Pete Davidson. He said I'm the only one that cares about Pete Davidson. And I swear, every podcast I've listened to, every talk show I've watched, everyone has talked about Pete Davidson. He went national, global. I mean, what he did, dumping on those protesters in his own neighborhood, was despicable, and everybody was pissed off, except Turtle Boy, who, you're right, he wanted to talk about the assistant town manager in Grafton who was mean to someone on Facebook. But hey, I still love.
There was that old line about Elizabeth Warren when she ran for president. Was it Vanity Fair or somebody did a huge expose on her, and somebody that knew her well said the funny thing about Elizabeth Warren is she doesn't have any friends. Remember that?
Yeah.
Isn't that has to be true of Pete Davidson, right?
No.
After a Saturday Night Live show, do people hang with that guy?
Good question.
The only reason he's a celebrity is because he has a lot of celebrity friends.
He's right.
I don't know though. You would think that with Warren until you really get down to it. She doesn't.
Here's the bottom line. He is one of the worst human beings you've ever seen, and I say this because I've done my research. Every one of his friends is famous, which means he has no friends. You're probably right. I heard Machine Gun Kelly talking about this with Howard Stern, saying that Pete Davidson and he are like best friends. So obviously, if you're famous and you're a dirtbag with tattoos and drug problems, he loves you. But he picks his girlfriends depending on how famous they are. We know that. He's a total prima donna. Like, he shows up to work half the time. They don't want to mess with him because, his father died on 9/11. His father that he has himself dumped on is his own father. He dumped on Dan Crenshaw. He's just scum, absolute scum.
I mean, he's got a text from Turtle Boy. Here he goes again. He's on you, Jerry. No one cares, and you're doing it again.
I mean, he dated the biggest pop star in the world, and
right.
in today's world, that's even different from me growing up with like Britney Spears was the biggest pop star. Today, it's like times that by 10 with social media the way it is today.
He dated the hottest woman in the world, in Kate Beckinsale.
Oh, that's right.
And he ruined her for me. I mean, the idea of that disease-ridden drug addict.
That's such a shame too. You were so close, Jerry. It just seemed like things were lining up, and then he ruined her for you. It's terrible.
That's like
20 years older than he is.
Never watch Underworld again. It's so awful that's been taken from you now.
That's a running thing with Dave Portnoy right now. Is he's DM'd her 5 times and she won't get back to him, but she'll get back to Pete Davidson. Like,
on top of that, is he an attractive man? He looks like he's got like 12 different diseases. He looks like he needs some vitamins or some sun or something. His eyes are all sunken in. He's just a disgusting human being who, he's got every STD on the planet. Why would a woman want to be with that?
Beauty is on the inside, Jerry. Although I don't know that he's exhibited a lot of that over time either. So
let me bring it full circle, since I'm the only one with radio skills out of this trio right here. He should be dating this lunatic right here. That's a catch right there. That is a catch.
That's the face of the shock lockdown. Team lockdown. That's the face of team lockdown. I'm an effing teacher. F you. I teach your effing kids and their families are dying. Either, obviously, she's enjoying her 10-month vacation, but she's stupid on top of being a little emotional. She thinks kids are dying, or their parents are dying because the kids went to school. Everybody knows, everyone, CDC and Redfield and Fauci, and everybody agrees kids, even Biden has said kids belong back in school. Once he won the election, let's get the kids back in school. But what sets her off? These people just saying, can I go back to work? Can I open my business, please? That's what set her off.
Well, first of all, there's a million, hundreds of parents in that district right now. Honey, we have that parent-teacher conference with Miss Jenkins. I have a Zoom. I can't make that one. Can you imagine going to see with her? Hey, how's my little kid doing? Like, your kid is the worst. Like, she needs to be a Saturday Night Live skit, but she's on the side that won't get anything done to her. But
imagine that is your kid's teacher. You're probably like, you know what? Maybe we should stay remote. I don't want my child, near that insane woman with her.
Is it ever a good idea to identify your profession publicly? This was true 20 years ago, but now, why would you say in social media world? The only thing she didn't do is identify the school, and you got the sense she was close to doing that. Like, why?
How about doing the double middle finger to the camera? Do you think that's not going to get out there? They won't recognize me. She must be so embarrassed now. She's not having a heated discussion. She's just flipping out. And soon.
So is she a Karen, or is Karen only when right-wing people flip out? I never knew what the rule was.
No, she's definitely a Karen, a crazy Karen. Yes, she does not want to go back to school. She's probably got plans, for the holidays to maybe go south, maybe to go to Cabo and hang out with the mayor of Austin or somewhere and just have the check forwarded. She has no interest in going back to work. I'm looking at a picture of William Shakespeare right now, 81-year-old in University Hospital, Coventry, England, getting the vaccine. So, and by the way, as I said, Trump is.
He had, Jerry, prior to getting the vaccine, he had suffered the slings and arrows of outrageous fortunes.
I was going to say, what is he, 500 years old? He looks pretty good. But
you got it measure for measure.
Trump is going to save the world before he leaves office. He's going to obviously brag about it. But yesterday he did another one of the great things. He's done many, many great things. He ruins half of them by bragging about them or tweeting something stupid. But he signed I forget what it's called here, the America First Act, to make sure Americans get the vaccine first. I'm not sure it worked because people in England are getting it already. But the idea, who was it? Was it Ezekiel Emanuel? Someone said we should start in the poor countries, like in Africa or South America. I'm going, what? The America developed the vaccine. The American president spearheaded the effort. I say every single American who wants it gets it before you give it to a single foreigner. But that's me. I'm a xenophobe. So, we'll see how it goes. I'm pretty sure as long as Trump is president, Americans will get it first.
Whatever happened with that Russian vaccine, by the way? Remember when Putin announced?
I just read about it. I think he says they're still ready to go.
But were they? And I know, Jerry. Like, they don't wait for 3 phases of trials.
No kidding.
Are there large populations in Russia right now that have developed horns or 3 legs?
No, he's going to start with his enemies, and they're all going to get sick and die. And it didn't work. But I like the Kim Jong-un method. Is if you get the virus, he has your shot. And that eliminates the virus completely. Just anyone who gets it, he kills them. That's also the method employed by Andrew Cuomo in New York, coincidentally. And he's done his best to just eliminate anybody who has the virus or anybody who's in a vulnerable category. Get rid of them. Speaking of which, and I know you got a big kick out of this one yesterday. I know you're a young, healthy male in Massachusetts, VB, but let's pretend you're in New York. You're who you are, and your parents, elderly parents or grandparents or whatever, were in a New York nursing home in April or May.
Jerry, I have a sister who lives in New York whose business has been decimated. Okay. I'm pretty familiar with this scenario. Yes.
So you're in New York, you got a relative, a mother, father who was in a nursing home, got the virus, passed away. You find out later that didn't have to happen. Cuomo ordered coronavirus positive patients into that nursing home, killing your mother. And you have to sit there yesterday, like every other day, the day he got the Emmy, the day he did a Q&A with Billy Joel the day he came out with a book about leadership. Every day, this monster, Andrew Cuomo, continues to just piss in your face and dance on the grave of your loved one. He's just a vile, disgusting human being. Yesterday, he's yucking it up with another phony, flip-flop Fauci and Cuomo on I guess some kind of Zoom call, giggling and laughing about what kind of food Fauci misses the most from Brooklyn. And by the way, his answer was Nathan's hot dogs. I mean, you're from New York, you're Italian, you move to DC, you become a hack bureaucrat for 50 years. What do you miss the most about food back home? And you pick hot dogs? Anyway, these two are yucking it up. And Cuomo comes up with a really witty take that they're like De Niro and Pacino. First of all, that's the way Andrew Cuomo thinks. When he looks in the mirror, he sees a movie star, right? That's the way he's always thought. He thinks he belongs with De Niro and Pacino and Ben Stiller and Billy Joel and Sharon Stone. His buddies are all famous. I said this about Pete Davidson. If someone's friends are all famous, first of all, they're probably kind of an asshole. And secondly, they don't really have any friends. You know, you see certain people in Hollywood or in the media and all their friends are famous. That means they don't really have any friends. You know, they brag about, oh yeah, I called my buddy, whatever, Pete Davidson. Yeah, we were hanging out. I'm going, that's not really your buddy. That's just some Hollywood phony who's using you. Anyway, Cuomo's take is he and Fauci are like De Niro and Pacino. Can we hear from this total a-hole, Cuomo?
I think your voice on saying that the vaccines are safe would be important. I said that as soon as the vaccine is deemed ready and safe, I'll be the first one to take a vaccine. Maybe we enlist you. I'll do it with you. We'll do an ad telling New Yorkers it's safe to take the vaccine to put us together. We're like the modern day De Niro and Pacino. You can be whichever you want. You can be the De Niro or Pacino. Fauci and Cuomo, I'll give you a friend. Who do you want to be, De Niro or Pacino? Which one do you want to be?
I love them both. I love them both. I don't want to insult one or the other. If I say one, I don't want to hurt the feelings of the other.
Yeah.
So either one.
Who's?
Oh God. Oh God.
So first of all, there'd be the modern day Pacino or De Niro. De Niro's going, I'm your age. We're the same.
Fauci's
like, what are you talking
80.
about?
Fauci's 80, and he's going to be the monitor.
She's older than both of those guys.
And they're tested. I mean, Fauci obviously is not as bad as Cuomo, but I'm so sick of him. Why? I say this all the time. Ask this.
Well, first of all, you see what Cuomo's doing there? He's on air. You know hosts that do this, but he's asking him on air, come get the shot with me so we can do this photo op. He isn't run that by him, but he's figuring if he does it live, Fauci will agree to it. And maybe he did there. I don't know. That's number one, which is just
wait a second. You're telling me Fauci's going to do something live on camera? Anthony Fauci?
If it can be arranged.
That's going to take some arm twisting to get Fauci to do some performative art on TV, on camera. This guy's never going away. He's going to be 112. And they're going to say, coming up next on CNN, we'll talk to Anthony Fauci. Just retire. Why does every other walk of life, everyone else in the private sector have to retire when they're like 65 or 70? And this guy, 80-year-old Fauci, is on TV every freaking day telling us things. And by the way, wait a day and he'll tell you the exact opposite. I mean, he's the guy that said you don't need a mask. He's the guy that on March 9th said you should not hesitate to go on a cruise. He is a complete fraud. But anyway, he's no Cuomo. I'm going to guess.
Cuomo is literally thinking photo op with the vaccine. Like the mind goes right to photo op rather than we got to get this to seniors immediately. No, we need to stage this photo op with Fauci so I can look. He's like the cop that after the guy does all the legwork and the headphones in the van and they've been staking out the mafia for years, right? And they make the pinch. This other cop comes in at the last second and grabs the guy by the arm to get the photo op and he waves at the camera.
It does the press conference,
Yes. Yeah. And then acts like he's the hero. And Cuomo's doing that here. Of course, what do you expect? A, the guy won an Emmy. B, he's written a book about how he defeated coronavirus, even though obviously New Yorkers are dying as we speak, as is everybody in the country. But he set the blueprint on how to defeat this thing. So
No, he signed an order on March 25th, sending coronavirus patients into nursing homes, killing at least 11,000 New York senior citizens. And because the media is so corrupt, because Hollywood and all these dineros are all so shallow and superficial that they just ignore it. It's amazing. And I did a podcast with Janice Dean, who's a hero and a fighter for all these for these people who are no longer with us, or the families whose loved ones were murdered by this monster. She keeps reminding us what an evil bastard he is. And he sits there and goes, "I'll be De Niro and you be Pacino," and you're going, hang your head in shame. Have you no shame? I mean, he's just the worst. And so,
well, how about the stereotyping that he? First of all, it's got to be two Italian actors, right? And what food do you miss?
Right.
And when he says it's a Nathan's, he goes, "What are you talking about? How about a cannoli? How about a big bowl of pasta?" Like, he lists every stereotypical Italian food. Like, apparently it's 1920s Italy talking here to each other. They like their first generations. Again, Fauci gave him the signal, like, I'm not really into this because I'm going to say a Nathan's hot dog to put an end to that. But Cuomo doesn't let it go. He goes, no, let's go and do the Italian thing and just keep eating that.
I heard Geraldo talking about this on the 5, and he said Mario Cuomo hated the Italian stereotypes. He hated the allusion to mobsters and all that. Andrew doesn't feel that way because he's kind of with that Hollywood crowd, De Niro, Pacino crowd. But immediately came all the jokes, and you and I were joking about it, saying maybe he's talking about like the end of The Irishman, when De Niro is this doddering old, washed up
in a nursing home.
In a nursing home, and
I mean, he would have been dead in the movie, right? From that,
Pacino was dead, right? That's a good point. And they're not the modern day version; they're the current version. They're two just over the hill nobodies who are just time to leave the stage. It's if somebody. I mean, I realized Cuomo will never leave the stage. He'll never give it up because he loves the camera and he loves the fame and he loves rubbing shoulders with his famous friends. But at some point, everyone just has to tire of him. I would like to see Biden name him to the cabinet. I'd like to see him, become attorney general for a couple of reasons. New York, I'd be happy for New York. They could get rid of him. And I'd like to see him go before the Senate and see if some of my guys, that have the guts to ask him, like the Josh Hawleys and Ted Cruz's and Tom Cottons have the guts to ask him about his order to put people in there. And by the way, Janice Dean has this question, and I've never heard a good answer. He had the ship, the Comfort Ship. He had the Javits Center. He had thousands of empty beds when he chose to put coronavirus patients in nursing homes. He didn't have to do it. They didn't have to die. And they've purged the system of that order, even though people made a copy.
Jerry, he won an Emmy.
He denied he did
part of that do you not understand? He won an Emmy.
An Emmy.
Okay? The science has been settled. He won the battle. Okay, he's an Emmy-winning governor.
The science is settled.
Did you see the woman over the weekend, by the way, who tweeted out that working at Friendly's was a more friendly environment than the 3 years?
Oh, that's true. I tweeted her out. A former, her name is on it too. She went all in. Nothing anonymous. She said the most toxic work environment she's ever seen. He's a bully and a bastard, and he pushes people around. I mean,
she was there for 3.5 years, so that's a pretty extensive amount of time in that line of work to work with.
And it got very little play. Obviously, the media is in the tank for this asshole, and they don't cover this kind of thing. But you could see that. Can't you see that? Him in a workplace just pushing, bullying people, nasty. Everything must revolve around, he must get credit for everything. He's just the worst. He's the
Jerry, you and I are both we're Irish, right? Like I'm
American.
Thank you. I'm like third generation quote Irish, but I'm American. But at any point did you introduce me as my fellow Irishman, VB? We could be Colin Farrell and whoever, the modern day version. Let's have some blood sausage and let's get some Guinness.
let's get bleep faced. Go to the pub and have a couple dozen Guinness.
And he's yucking. He can't. He thinks he's so funny as he's doing the thing. And again, people watching it were yucking it up with him too because he can do no wrong.
That's one of these people. And
I don't like being the what about but can you imagine Trump just willy-nilly saying anything remotely, I'll be Clint Eastwood or I'll be John Wayne and you be Jimmy Cagney to Mike Pence or whatever. Can you imagine the hyperventilating that would go on if that ever was said in any way?
Imagine if Trump, I don't know, ordered coronavirus patients into nursing homes, wiping out entire wings of nursing homes. Imagine if he did that, because he gets blamed. Joe Biden said Trump killed 250,000 people. Trump did. They'd all be alive if not for him. There'd be no deaths if not for Trump. He just can't put a finger on anything Trump did to cause the 250,000 deaths. Quite the contrary. Things he did, like shutting down travel from Europe and China, Biden was against. If Biden were president, if Hillary Clinton were president, the deaths would be 500,000 right now.
But as to answer Cuomo's question, Jerry, to answer Cuomo's question, the food that I would miss would be the Thanksgiving dinner I usually have with my sister in New York that I couldn't have because of Cuomo. Again, the idea that he's yucking this stuff up and using this as punchlines while A, people are still dying, B, things that he has done. I have a friend who usually goes south to be with his elderly parents for Thanksgiving and couldn't go this year because Cuomo said you can't leave. And yet here he is planning a photo op with Fauci to go, hey, look at us. If we'll do it, it must be safe because I've never made a bad decision in my life. It's crazy nonsense.
Why is it a big deal for these politicians to get the vaccine on TV? I mean, to show it's safe, most people, and I'm going to guess most elderly people who haven't been able to leave their rooms or see their grandchildren, they're like, shoot me up. Let's go. Let's get it on. They're not going, gee, look, George Bush is getting the shot. I guess it's safe. I mean, why? That doesn't encourage, so Fauci's going to get a shot on TV. So what? I mean,
well, I'll be honest on this one. I didn't try and remember back February, March. I didn't take this thing seriously at all until Tom Hanks got it. And then I was like, what the hell? So I don't want to be hypocritical on it. For some reason, I can get sucked into that stuff. And I did like when the ex-president
Tom Hanks and his wife got through it. 2 weeks later, we're fine.
I know.
It's a good point. When Tom Hanks got it and when, a few NBA guys got it, you started saying, wow. And then you look and a week later, they're fine. That's when you started to realize it was targeted. It was killing the elderly, the obese, people with underlying conditions. We've known that for, 7-8 months. And people like that teacher, that insane teacher, they're just denying it because they are kind of enjoying the lockdown. They don't want to go to work. That's the same way if you work at Amazon or Target, if you're a big, if you're Michael Bloomberg, you're saying, let's keep this going. Let's crush out all the small businesses. Our friends in China are benefiting. Let's keep this going. This story will be told for the rest of our lives. There'll be obviously nonfiction books about it, but there'll be fiction. There'll be more, movies like Contagion. And eventually everybody, every idiot that's not really paying attention right now will realize it, the average age of death is older than the average lifespan. The people dying are in their 80s and they have 3 or 4 other comorbidities. They're just, it's accelerating the extent, it's accelerating the death of a certain group of people. It's not affecting everybody. It's certainly not affecting kids. The idea that you should have ever closed schools for one day is insane. But enough. We've done enough. We got a lot to get to. I do. I know you got some things you want to talk about. Did you see? But
can we do the Tom Brady homeless guy at some point?
Yes, we're going to do the Tom Brady homeless guy. But I got to ask Cullinane. Cullinane, are we still on Facebook Live? Because yesterday, VB, we got kicked off Facebook Live for mocking Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson, this edgy comedian who is the voice of the establishment, who is for lockdowns. He's against anybody who wants to run a business. He just wants to, get his paycheck, and he doesn't care about anyone else in his neighborhood. But we got kicked off Facebook Live. Are we back on?
We are back on. I mean, we were quite disrespectful to Pete Davidson earlier in the show, but fortunately it hasn't impacted the live stream at the moment.
But I think you may need a new policy on this show, Jerry. That no PDAs from you. No Pete Davidson is an ass, because it keeps you just keep upsetting Turtle Boy and Facebook. So maybe you need a week off from Pete Davidson.
Is Turtle Boy chimed in? Because his
people very unhappy with you.
They don't like that. Anyway, we're gonna. You know what? We'll get to Tom Brady, home guy that broke into Tom Brady's home. I want to mention how another. I shouldn't say another. One of the benefits of this crazy COVID season is we get football like every night of the week, and sometimes we get 2 Monday night games like last night, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. I like this. I think this NFL should run with this, and next year just play every night. I know it's not very healthy for guys to play football every night of the week, but I'm enjoying it. And last night we got to see the Washington football team. How insane is it that they just didn't pick a nickname? I mean, why do they? Why do they have to take Why do they have to take a year off from having a nickname? Next year they'll be the.
Well, I don't know why. Is there no Kevin Millar on that team? Why don't they just give themselves a nickname in the short run and be like, we're the diplomats or we're the judges or whatever?
Well,
just start referring to themselves that way.
It was going to be Red something, like Red Tails or Red something, Red Hawks, to keep the red part. But why do you have to go a year without a nickname? Anyway.
I'm with VB. I like it. The thing that's pathetic, it's like if some CEO of a Fortune 500 company died, you'd have a crisis communication strategy so the stock market's not impacted in a negative way. These guys had years upon years to be ready for that moment, and they just completely.
I always said that, like with UMass. UMass used to be the Red Men, which is a stupid nickname, Red Men, and so they got a chance to pick a new nickname. And by the way, they picked one that I thought was pretty cool, the Minutemen. And the logo has a soldier, Revolutionary War soldier with a rifle. Immediately, it was like a matter of days, and they were protesting the new nickname because it was sexist and it was violent. But anyway, which is what I liked about it. Anyway, if you get forced, by the PC forces, the social justice warriors, to get rid of your nickname, which I guess is what happened to Dan Snyder, that gives you an opportunity. A great marketing opportunity. You get to sell a whole new line of clothing and hats and shirts and everything else, but not. I guess maybe he is. Are they selling a lot of merchandise with the WFP?
I haven't read the headlines. We talked about that months ago.
Probably are now because
you basically. I mean, you get 2 shots, right? Because eventually they are going to change the name, I would assume. So maybe they ride this for 2 years, get the merch out of it, and then they're going to pick another one and they're going to ride that, right? So
my thing is, why not go all in? Change though. I've never liked the Redskins colors. The Washington football team's colors. Do something with that.
I love everything about it. I love the uniforms, the helmets. I love the nickname just because it annoyed everybody.
But it's all gone now.
And I love the John Riggins. The John Riggins Redskins were a blast. I think they're probably using this, don't you think? Is saying it's another one of those disrespectful. We don't even have a nickname. People are trying to ruin it.
Sure.
And Ron Rivera has rallied the troops, and they knocked off the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers last night, which was a lot of fun to watch. And then right into watching, he's not.
Hold on, you can't gloss over this, Jerry. What happened in that game last night?
What happened in that game?
The Alex Smith situation right before the half. Alex Smith has a gash. Oh my God. Did you see that? It was gushing. And they bring this trainer out who goes like this, and they bring a roll of duct tape, and he just duct tapes the hell out of his lower left leg to stop the bleeding. Do you know the pain that must have been when he ripped that tape off in the locker room?
There's no pain. He's Alex Smith. He had 17 surgeries. He almost lost a leg. I always think of this watching, and you can't help but root for him. I don't even know if he's
there. It is. Look at that.
There's the blood.
And the announcer goes, "It looks to be some sort of blood. Some sort? What do they have? Pig's blood in this? I think that's human blood, and I think it's his blood. And I think the guy's in trouble."
But it's Alex Smith. No one has overcome more pain, more adversity. He's already clinched the comeback player of the year in everybody's mind. But so you got to root for him. And I always think of his family. They showed his wife and kids when he first took over as the starter, and how nerve-wracking that must be. I mean, the last time he played, he shattered his leg, and life was never the same. And he got hit. He hung in the pocket. I got to give him credit. He does not look gun-shy, even though he knows, at any minute he could snap his femur again. But he brought them back. They won. It just felt like they were going to blow it, and they didn't. It feels like they're in first place, by the way. They're tied with the Giants. The Giants have all the tiebreakers. I believe they beat them twice, so the Giants are more likely to win the division.
Washington is better, and they're a better story too.
Giants aren't terrible either.
They're not.
Whoever wins from that division, I would say, is an interesting story. Even though I mean,
we all agree that Pittsburgh is totally fraudulent, right? I mean, Pittsburgh has zero chance of ever beating Kansas City in any way, shape, or form.
I would agree. Kansas City. I mean, I tweeted this out just to kind of tweak people. I said there are no scary teams in the NFL, and immediately all the Kansas City Chiefs fans are going nuts. But the Chiefs almost blew it against Denver.
But they're coasting. They're coasting. Deep down, when push comes to shove, the Chiefs nobody wants any part of because they are the juggernaut.
I would say they're the best of the bunch. The Chiefs are 11-1, I guess the same as the Steelers. The number 1 seed gets a bye, not the number 1 and 2.
No, that was a big loss last night.
Only one team gets a bye, right? So that they're battling out the rest of the way. They certainly didn't look like they were going to go, whatever it would be, 14, 16, 19-0. 19-0. That was never going to happen. That was not that kind of team. But the Chiefs have won 7 in a row. The Steelers were 11-0, but the Giants and Skins are both 5-7, I believe.
Yeah.
Tied for the top.
It's the Washington football team, Jerry.
Oh, did I say Redskins?
Yes.
Oh, we're going to get kicked off Facebook again.
If Dallas beats Baltimore tonight, Dallas is somehow in the thing still. Like
we get Tuesday night football, Dallas and Baltimore, which is great. And you know what? There's no fans, and there's it doesn't matter. It's still football. It's still real. It's still violent as hell.
The thing that I took away from this weekend, if you told me a year ago, Jerry Callahan, of all people, would not only care in any way, but would sit down and watch a BYU Coastal Carolina football game and then would be tweeting positive things about it. But here we are in 2020. That was the best game of the year.
That was not only was it a great game, they decided to play, I believe, 2 days before the game.
It was on the Wednesday, yeah.
3 days.
3 days, yeah.
3 days before the game, they agreed to play because Liberty bowed out and Coastal Carolina was undefeated. BYU, I was rooting for them just because it took balls. They're undefeated. They're in top 20 team. And they say, you know what? You want an opponent? We're ready. And they made the trip, and they almost, they came up a yard short. But by the way, I mentioned this yesterday, the QB for BYU, Zach Wilson, is on the Patriots' radar. I got sources say they're looking at him, and he's a stud, and that'd be a lot of fun. But here's my rankings, and this sounds like something, I don't know, they do on my old station middays. The most fun guy to watch in the NFL. Can we agree is Patrick Mahomes? Would you say he's number 1?
Yeah.
Okay, number 2 on my list is Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen is not as good as Patrick Mahomes, although last night he was spectacular. Josh Allen is a blast to watch, and I'm sure people like Turtle Boy who want the rest of the division to stink forever because he wants the Patriots to have an easy time aren't happy because finally the AFC East has a decent quarterback not named Brady. It ain't Cam Newton either. It's Josh Allen, and he's great to watch because he's just obviously his arm is incredible, is as strong as anyone. He could just deliver it like in a split second anywhere, make any throw, but he's so tough he hangs in the pocket, which is probably not good in the long run. He'll probably get hit. But last night, Josh Allen was 6 for 6. Check this out. He threw for 375 yards, 4 touchdowns, but 6 for 6 on throws 20 yards or deeper down the field. Just a reminder, a couple weeks ago, Tom Brady was 0 for 20 over a couple of weeks. 0 for 20 on throws 20 yards down the field. It was the longest streak in
And yet, who would you want to take that throw? Because you can't get it through your mind. You've been told long enough that Josh Allen's terrible and that he's going to throw it, to the wrong team. But no matter how many times he does this, where you go, geez, that guy actually played pretty well, you still think that he's going to blow the game, even though he's having a Pro Bowl season.
I think he's got past that. He's never thrown an interception, I believe, in the red zone. Never. He's in his third year. They're 9-3. They're gonna win the division going away. Well, I think they're up. They're 9-3. He looks so good, so tough, and the team around him loves him. You can just tell they love the fact that he's a tough bastard and he will run the ball. He's not afraid to take a hit. Obviously, he's big and strong, but he's not going to have a 20-year run like Tom Brady. He's just.
Well, what you saw last night, Jerry, was two teams whose quarterbacks absolutely represent their head coaches. Like Ron Rivera in Washington would play with his leg cut off. And Alex Smith knew, look, I got to play with this huge gash in my leg and act like it's nothing, because that's what Ron Rivera would do and probably did do when he was a player. Up in Buffalo, that quarterback coach combination, they get no respect. Nobody ever talks. Who has ever said, hey, that guy?
They do now. I think last night they were on display and everyone could see it's Monday Night Football, and he had like the best game he's ever had. So I think after last night, I think they get noticed. And Pittsburgh lost. So if you're talking about the AFC, I don't even know what the latest odds are. Obviously, Kansas City's their favorite to come out of the AFC, but wouldn't Buffalo be right there, number 2, to 2A, 2B?
Do you think so, though? I mean, I don't know.
Your choices are
you got Indy.
Cleveland's going to be a wild card. Not going to be a division winner.
Cleveland is tough.
I don't know, Tennessee or Indy or I mean, that's it.
Those are good. Tennessee was there.
Buffalo's the second best team in the conference. Yes, they are.
Yeah, but again, so Tennessee, Buffalo. You're telling me Buffalo walks on that one? I'm not saying King Henry can beat anybody.
Well, it'll be in Buffalo. Not that it's a big deal with the fans.
But they run. Tennessee runs. It doesn't matter. When you have the best back, you have a chance. And Tennessee did. They showed you that last year, and they're better, really, in a lot of ways than they were last year.
They're tied with the Colts, top of that division.
Of all years for the Bills to be good, 2020 with no fans in the stadium for the what? They haven't won a home playoff game. How many years is that? That's got to be damn near what?
They were the last. Stan won on Monday Night Football since Doug Flutie was under center in '91.
How do you know that, Jerry?
Flutie tweeted about it, and they were every single team in the NFL had won on Monday night since the last time they won, which means, Cleveland and Jacksonville and all the dregs had won on Monday night, and a lot of teams don't make a lot of appearances on Monday night.
Even Minnesota's quarterback finally won on Monday night, right?
And by the way, they took apart San Francisco, which destroyed your Patriots.
That's a different team, though, Jerry. They got like 50 guys not playing now.
And they got kicked out of San Francisco because of the virus. So they play in Arizona now. That's where it was last night. That was a road game, sort of, I guess, a road game to Arizona for Buffalo. And they put on quite a show. And I'm telling you, Josh Allen's one of those guys. If they're on TV and you're just kicking back, flipping around, you are stopping and you are watching
But if you're the league, a Kansas City, Green Bay, an Allstate Insurance Super Bowl be a pretty good sell this year. A Buffalo, Washington Super Bowl, they're not looking for that.
Washington, the Giants, they're not going to the Super Bowl. But
who knows?
It's interesting to see that division, which was pretty friggin' bad. Now those two teams are hot. What is the Giants' streak right now? The Giants have won 4 in a row. Washington's won 3 in a row. They're both rolling. They're both and they've already played twice, so they don't meet again, and Giants won them both. There you go. People think that Belichick's his coaching tree is a disaster because of Patricia and Billy O'Brien. Well, Joe Judge and who's the other? There's another.
Joe Judge is 5-7, and Jerry's going, look at that coaching tree.
Joe Judge has won 4 in a row. He's going to the playoffs.
Not yet.
And I forget who. There's another Belichick guy who's doing
Brian Flores.
Brian Flores and Joe Judge are both doing well.
Can you name 3 players on the Dolphins, Jerry?
Devontae Parker, Tua. I can't say his last name, but I can say his first name.
Okay.
Tua.
And you probably name Tua's backup, and that's it, right? What Miami's done and what Flores has done is remarkable because nobody knows any of those guys.
Which will be a great. If something's on the line, and it probably will be, New England at Miami, correct?
Yeah, they could do what Miami did to them last year.
That's Sunday, the December 20th at Miami Patriots. That's their. Obviously, they played Thursday night back in Los Angeles against the Rams. Get through that, they have a winning record, and they're battling Miami, Buffalo, and then finishing with the Jets on Sunday, January 3rd. But sticking to football and quarterbacks and the Patriots, I know this is something you wanted to talk about. This kind of went national too, just because it's Brady. But I have some questions. Brady has this unbelievable palace in in Brookline that he lived when he was here, and he's selling it. I believe he started asking like $40 million for it. Not a big market for $40 million homes in Boston suburbs. I think he dropped it to 35 or something. It's this insane house right on the.
Are you looking at it, Jerry, still, or have you decided to pass? What's the status?
I might go, help myself, walk in, make a sandwich, and sit down and look around. But here's what I'm going to guess. Brady's got a $40 million home. I'm going to guess he has a nest, and maybe even an alarm and cameras on the grounds. A homeless guy broke into Brady's house yesterday. Early yesterday, cops showed up, and he was sitting on the couch in like the game room. And was it a mugshot where he's got a Brady jersey? Because there's a picture of him out there, and it might have been his last arrest, because this time when they took him into custody, he was wearing a hoodie and you couldn't see his face. But he's a little bit obsessed with Tom Brady, and I'm not sure how you expect to get away with breaking into Brady's home. Like, he's got a lot.
I don't think he did, Jerry. I think it's been a tough year for everybody. This guy, I would assume, has had a tough year as well.
Cuban didn't want to get caught on the Zoom conference. I mean, this was all publicity, baby. This is for the show.
So you'd think he knew he was going to get caught. His name, and this.
If it's William Shakespeare, Jerry, don't tell me that's his name.
It's worse. His name is Zanini Cineas. Zanini. Zanini. His parents are cruel. Zanini Cineas. He's a 34-year-old former resident of Brockton who's now homeless. Okay, keep that in mind. Homeless. They arrested him. They said he drove up to Brady's home, up the driveway, broke in. They got the call at 5:55 a.m. I mean, that's pretty early for a homeless guy. And if you're a homeless guy, the first thing you're looking for, maybe not all homeless people, but some of them, you're looking for, I don't know, a beer or maybe some wine or maybe some booze.
Some $350 protein, maybe.
Jerry, now you're turning into Cuomo with the stereotyping. You're turning into Cuomo with the stereotyping here. I can't.
If I were homeless and breaking in, I'd go to the bar and sit down and make myself a drink. But
there are very few circumstances where I'm going to make light of somebody breaking into somebody's house. But Brady's done it twice in 2020, because him going to the wrong house in Tampa and sitting on that guy's couch, that was one. And now this, where this guy just said, look, 2020's been terrible. I've had a rough year and it's been tough. I'm going to do something. And if it's only for 5 minutes, I'm going to make a memory for myself. And I got a desire to sit on Tom Brady's couch, and I'm going to do it. And he did it. He was sitting on the couch like this when the cops walked in. He's like, all right, let's go.
I'm looking at his mugshot, the latest one. He's not wearing a Brady jersey, but he looks too normal. He doesn't look, like a crazy person. They're asking $33.9 million for the home. Maybe he was just checking it out, thinking of making an offer. But I have lots of questions about this. I mean, you're homeless and you drive to Tom Brady's house at 5 a.m. Are you thinking he's trying to get arrested and just wants to do something interesting?
I just don't know how he got by the gate. Like, don't you have to get? I don't know how he got in. Actually, like, that's the part that gets me. Where I love the stones of it, but I just don't know logistically how he thought he could ever get in the door, and yet he did.
I know you think I'm stereotyping homeless people, and I guess I am, but do lots of homeless people have cars? I mean, the ones I see in the city, they have boxes. In
that case, your home is your car, right? Yeah, so definitely not homeless. If he has a car, he can sleep in his car.
And I would ask,
I think you're homeless if you're sleeping in your car, Dave. You may not be carless, but you're
an asset's an asset, and
a car is not a home, right? Like, it doesn't have a latrine.
If you're a good liberal like Giselle, see, I don't think Tom is, but he's pretending because he wants to keep the little woman happy. That's what we all do. I mean, shouldn't you offer this guy a warm bed, maybe a meal, maybe a home? Wouldn't that? No. They don't need it. They're not using this.
Why not? Brady would be smart here. Look, Mark Cuban took on Delonte West, and I applaud him for doing it. Brady ought to, and Giselle ought to do. The problem is, if you do that, you can't do it publicly because you're going to encourage this sort of thing then, and you can't make a precedent. Hey, if you break into my house, we'll take care of you. But that house, Jerry,
house is 12,000 square feet, and it has a wine cellar, which I didn't even think
He didn't have time to get to. He didn't.
No, but what was he doing? Watching TV? I would like more details. We'd like.
Get him.
Yeah, they just found him sprawled out on the couch. So who knows?
He was arrested in the past for stealing a Brady jersey from the Patriots store at Patriot Place. The value of the jersey, $10,000. It was some collectible game jersey, and he made a run for it with the jersey and got caught. So he's
Who is this guy?
little obsession with Tom Brady.
This is a hit
I know,
job.
but how does he pull this stuff off that no one thinks you can do? That's twice now he's done it. Where he's got some Houdini in him somehow. He's not great at it, but
Timing's a little suspect because it was just announced that TB12 took the $1 million in the PPP loan. So this is a hit job.
Good point.
This is redemption.
You know what?
Zanini's got some Houdini, is what I'm telling you, Jerry. And now I'm going to get into Cuomo territory with names that end in I. But
if I was still writing columns, I would write. I'd try to get a hold of Zanini. Is he being let go? There's obviously criminal. There's no bail anymore. Just let him go and go find him wherever he is, sitting in his car and talk
Jerry,
to him.
if you were writing for Sports Illustrated, you'd send one of your 3 secretaries to track him down. You'd write the story 6 months from now, and it would be after Brady's won the Super Bowl and the yin yang of these two guys' lives. That's what that would be.
All right, we got there's so much more to get to. We don't have enough time to do it all today, VB. But did you see the kid? Here's what I want to know from you. You have young kids, a whole bunch of them. How many boys do you have?
2 boys, 2 girls.
2 boys. So one of the boys, girls would never do this. One of the boys, how old are the boys?
Your gender stereotyping knows no bounds, Jerry. I got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old son.
Are they biological boys, or did they decide?
Yes, they are. Yes, and we decided for them. Blame us if you must.
One 6-year-old. What's your 6-year-old's name?
Owen.
Oh man. So
Owen and I we raised our glass to Larry Bird yesterday. He doesn't really know Larry Bird, but he knows enough to say, "Hey, happy birthday."
I want you to teach him about Bird yesterday when Bird turned 64. Today, teach him about John Lennon. Today's the 40th anniversary of John Lennon's death, which I was sitting on my couch watching Monday Night Football with my father. The Patriots were on when Howard Cosell made the announcement that John Lennon was dead, shot dead outside the Dakota. Our friends Casey Sherman and Dave Wedge have a book out about the last days of John Lennon. Sounds interesting. I'm going to check that out for sure. But what if Owen were to see Santa at the mall and ask for a Nerf gun? Because this happened yesterday to a kid. The kid was probably not quite 6, but he goes up, normal-looking kid, says, "I want a Nerf gun." And Santa, because this is the age we live in, said, "Oh, no, son. No guns, no guns. A Nerf gun," which every boy should have a Nerf gun. They should be out there shooting their sisters and their parents and, shooting the dog, whatever it takes. It's a Nerf gun.
Parenting. Remember that old skit on Saturday Night Live, Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy?
Yeah,
Parenting tips from Jerry Callahan. Every boy should be shooting their sister out there. Come on.
Yes, with a Nerf gun. It's not a real gun, Santa. But the kid it just breaks down and cries and it can't handle it, and the mother doesn't do anything about it. But you just want to smack this friggin' mall Santa. You're Santa. You're not you're not Karen here. You're not supposed to be raising this child. You're supposed to say, "Oh, that's nice. Yeah, but get your Nerf gun." I hope his parents get him. I saw a number of people on Twitter say,
"Well, Nerf better step up." I mean,
they're right, Nerf. But if these parents should start a GoFundMe, don't ask for any money. Just ask for guns. Lots and lots of toy guns for this kid. But can you hear this, Dave, when you play the sound? Can you hear it? Because it's a little faint.
Yeah, we'll give it a shot.
No guns. Nerf gun. No, not even a Nerf gun. No, if your dad wants to get it for you, that's fine, but I can't bring it to you. But what else would you like? Lots of other toys. There's Legos, there's bicycles, there's cars and trucks. What do you think? What do you think? It's okay if your dad.
Oh, this small Santa is. I mean, honest to God, that's not your job. I hope someone outs him. because you really can't see him on the video, and he's just a mall Santa. But I hope someone outs him because
Something you have a fallback, which is no matter what the kid asks for, you just say, "Oh,
Yes.
well, we'll see if you've been nice." Like you just don't acknowledge the thing if it's in any way controversial.
the kid is gonna get what he asks for. His mother is standing there, so
And she says, "Oh no, it's a Nerf gun. Like it's okay."
So the kid's gonna get it, you know. He says, "No, maybe you can ask your father, but Santa can't do that." Yes, he can, you dick. He's gonna get it from Santa, which is
it should be a rule. If you're a mall Santa and you make the kid cry, it's like a PED test in baseball. I don't care the circumstances. There's a 60-game suspension. And by the way, Hollywood, get off your butts. Bad Santa 3, if they haven't done it already, this is it, where Billy Bob Thornton has reformed himself and he's trying to be good, but he's woke now. And he's making the kids cry entirely in a different way because he thinks he's being what they want him to be, but he's telling kids they can't have Nerf guns. Like, that's a movie that we ought to have come as a result of this.
I thought I would hate Bad Santa. I loved it. And I've seen it like 20 times. It makes me laugh every time.
The sandwiches. And
when he's eating the Chinese food and the mother starts saying, "Tell Santa what you want to eat. It's my lunch break." And he spits the food on the kid, and I just lose it. This year, Mel Gibson's an evil Santa, or down on his luck Santa. I'm curious to see that. Mel Gibson's the greatest. We'll see how.
I don't know if I can confirm this, but I think there might be a Bad Santa in production, actually. So, wow, a little foreshadowing there out of VB. Yeah,
well, they ought to see this. And by the way, don't you think this is coming? First of all, there's very few mall Santas this year because most malls have said we're not doing it, or they have these huge dividers. The one place in the country where the kid can get close enough to Santa, and it's this Santa saying, "Nope, sorry, kid, you're gonna have to shed some tears." Like, it's unbelievable.
It's not a bad setup. There's a table between him. He's not sitting on Santa's lap, but he is close, and hopefully Owen asked for like an AK-47 or an Uzi or something because, I think he deserves it. But good luck.
How about Santa doesn't even say like, no, don't cry. It's okay, Susie. He stays, pardon the expression, he sticks to his guns. Like he's dug in. I'm not going to yield on Nerf.
No, your father. And by the way, the kid gets confused because he said, maybe your father will get you that, but I can't. And the kid's like, why? The kid has no idea that the Santa's a liberal a-hole who hates guns. He doesn't understand why Santa won't give him a Nerf gun. He's looking at Santa going, what? Why can my father do it and you can't? And by the way, he looks at his mother like, who's my father? The father's not even in the picture. Maybe the father's dead. Maybe he's long gone. He's looking at mom going, what is Santa talking about? And then the kid just breaks down crying. And this somebody on Facebook says the Santa was fired. I haven't seen that, and I doubt it in this day and age. But if that's true,
I bet it was. I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna do Shea Concrete. And then I got a question for you. Are you a Dylan fan, Bob Dylan fan?
I'm okay with him, but I'm not a hardcore.
You better if you don't like Dylan, you better get ready because you're gonna hear a lot more Dylan. And I'll tell you why after I tell you about Shea Concrete. This is for you homeowners and home builders out there. You know what I'm going to tell you. My brother-in-law, Greg, at the folks at Shea Concrete, they have a huge selection of precast concrete steps. You got to check this out. There's a TV commercial with me in it, and you get to see all the great steps that they have to offer. But you can do that on the website, or you can stop by and see. Whether you're building a new home or you need to replace an old staircase, Shea has great values with designs for any home. They're available in concrete, or you can customize your steps with beautiful stone, granite, or brick. A new staircase can dramatically upgrade the front entrance of your home. Maybe that's what Tom Brady and Giselle need. They can't seem to unload this little bungalow, $33 million home. Maybe they have to upgrade the steps. That's how you do it. In most cases, Shea can remove your old stairs and have you walking up a new set of front steps within hours. And just like that, your house looks better. Your house is worth more. And maybe if you're trying to sell it, maybe it helps you sell it. It's new steps. They can really help you move that old home and make it look better and sell quicker. You can learn more about Shea's precast concrete steps at sheaconcrete.com, or just stop by one of their 4 state-of-the-art facilities all over New England. All right, Bob Dylan, and I love these stories because this is what Taylor Swift did, which means that Dave will wake up and actually have some interest in this topic.
Hey, you say Taylor Swift?
Talking about my girl. Taylor Swift sold her music catalog to what's his name, Scooter Braun.
Oh yeah,
He
and then
stole it, but fine.
right, yeah, then complains after Bob Dylan sold his music library for $300 million.
That's the same as hers, right?
And by the way, he's how old is Bob Dylan? He's 78, which is another one of those amazing miracles that Bob Dylan's still around, still kicking.
Well, did you hear what he said about this, Jerry?
But here's what's going to happen. We're going to be watching, a football game. We're going to be watching, I don't know, one of those Wednesday night football, Thursday night football, Tuesday night football, one of the many games that are on these days. And there's going to be a commercial for, I don't know, Flow, or there'll be a commercial for, you name it. Give me some TV for
Apple.
A lot of Apple commercials. That's a good one. Apple, Amazon, Target. And it'll be, so my friend is blowing in the wind, it's blowing in the wind, and we're gonna, or something blue. What's blue? There'll be a blue,
Jet blue,
and it'll be tangled up in blue, and you'll go, what? That's Bob Dylan. His stuff is going to be very readily available for all these companies to put in TV commercials because Bob Dylan sold out. It's Bob Dylan's. If you don't like it, if you think that he's not that kind of guy, that he wouldn't ever. He's 79, by the way. He sold out. He took the money. God bless him. His family's going to, I don't know why he needs the money, but his family's going to be fabulously wealthy for generations. But companies like Target and Apple and whatever, Flow, what does Flow sell? Insurance, right?
Progressive.
Yes.
Progressive. They're going to be able to play Dylan songs. Just pay whatever the going rate is, and they can play it, and you'll hear it all over the place. Just like you hear, the Rolling Stones in some cases, or Taylor Swift and other artists. You know what was amazing when I read this story? It was about some of the other artists. Fleetwood Mac sold theirs for like, I get the number here. Here it is, $80 million. They sold, and it wasn't even the whole catalog. $80 million for Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, but in Dylan's case, like Cullinane could probably name more Wallflowers songs than he can Bob Dylan.
Oh yeah, Bob Dylan. It's right over my head. I have no idea.
Jerry, I'm surprised he got $300 million based on the fact that ship has sailed a long time ago.
Dylan receives a lump sum between $200 and $400. I'm not sure what the variable is there. Stevie Nicks sold their publishing catalog for $80 million. The Dylan portfolio has 600 songs.
Wow.
Other bands who've sold their catalogs, taken the money, Blondie, Barry Manilow, and the estates of John Lennon and Kurt Cobain. I believe John Lennon, the Beatles, Paul McCartney bought them for like a ridiculous amount of money, like $800 million. Paul McCartney owns.
Well, didn't Jackson buy it? Michael Jackson buy him, and then McCartney and Jackson had a falling out. There's a whole story there, but there's only one to look up, Jerry. 300 million, 80 million, 200 to 400 million. What did Brian Wilson's father sell the Beach Boys catalog for?
I don't know.
Remember when he did it against the kids' wishes without the kids even knowing? And I think he sold it for like $70 and a Coke or something like that. He never spoke to his father again, obviously. But the Beach Boys is the one you would want because of the catchy jingles.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
And the father sold it for nothing. He had no idea what he had and what the value of it was. And the guy goes, I'm going to dig deep here. I'll give you $500 for it. And the guy's like, sold. And Brian Wilson was never the same after it happened.
It's a good point, but I think Dylan's got a lot of those, catchy, even though they, might be, whatever, these revolutionary songs. At times they are changing and blowing in the wind and songs like that, which will fit nicely in commercials, and we'll be sick of them all.
It's not like he was, and now I'm sure he had control over it and limited the exposure, but I guarantee you he sold the rights to songs, to some commercials. I'd assume, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And now, I don't blame if you're going to die soon and you want to take care of offspring, kids, grandkids. You say, what the hell? What do I care if they?
He also might just not be capitalizing on, all the different changes that are going on in the music industry. I bet it's like a 5-person team that he has controlling the catalog, right? Like it's
When's the last time Bob Dylan said, "I need the money for anything"? I mean,
I know. But
I saw a story the other couple of years ago, long before COVID, where Dylan went on tour and performed 300 nights in a year. 300 nights in 1 year, and he was like 75. And I don't know anyone that went to see him. He wasn't playing the big rooms anymore, but he's just addicted to performing and singing his songs. And he must have just an insane amount of money already. I mean, but I guess it's like with Bob Cousy sold all his collectibles, all his memorabilia. And he said, what do I need it for? This is going to pay for my grandkids' education. And can you blame him for that? I wouldn't.
I'm a big lyric guy when it comes to rock and roll, if you consider Dylan rock and roll. And Dylan, for again, he's not my bag particularly. I don't have any Bob Dylan on my phone, but his lyrics, if you go back on them, like I always think that, if you get the 10 best lyrics of all time, you don't need a weather vane to know which way the wind blows is one of the great lines ever.
Right. And I'm with you. I'm a word man too. And I love, singing along to whatever, Tangled Up in Blue. And he won the Nobel Prize for whatever, writing, poetry. Didn't show up for the award. I believe Greta Thunberg was second, so she went and took the award for him. But no, he won the Nobel Prize. I think he blew them off, didn't show up to get the thing. And he's the only singer or songwriter to win it.
His top, I guess you could call it top 5 songs, have a total of 1.2 billion streams on Spotify. I'm looking at right now.
Cullinane's looking this stuff up because this means nothing to him. And he's like, I know this dude with something. Like, you got a whole world that's going to open up to you, Dave, when you start researching some of the John Lennon. Who was this gentleman, and why should I know him? Like, did some good things come? Wait till you look up Chuck Berry, Dave. You're gonna be blown away by some of this stuff.
Ask me about Ariana Grande if you want. She dated Pete Davidson. Yeah. I could go all day on that one.
The company that put this deal together is UMG, whatever that stands for. It's the story. This Yahoo story says Dylan is the latest artist to join forces with UMG, following the likes of Bruce Springsteen, Kendrick Lamar, and Post Malone. So does that mean this company facilitates these kind of deals? Is Springsteen next?
That's the biggest music publisher in the world.
Who would you go see of the 4, Jerry, if I gave you the opportunity?
Oh, I love Springsteen. I mean, even though he's a liberal, it bothers me, but I've seen him a bunch of times and he's great in live.
Cullinane?
What were the other ones? I hate Springsteen. So what were the other options?
Post Malone, Kendrick Lamar, Billie Eilish.
Oh, worse. No, if you said Bon Jovi, I'd be in with you, but I don't need those guys. Never mind. None of the above.
Springsteen, as Jimmy Buffett once sang, don't try to describe a Kiss concert if you've never seen it. You just may wind up being wrong, because Kiss concerts are legendary for being very, very entertaining. I would say don't try to describe a Springsteen concert if you've never seen it. They're great.
I'll try to describe.
He's the greatest live performer I've ever seen. 4 hours of just sweat and energy and passion, and kind of like Kenny Chesney. If you're into Kenny, Chesney puts his heart and soul into it too, and works up a sweat. Doesn't cheat anybody who buys a ticket, but until you've seen it, don't knock it.
Jerry, I will just leave you with this. I assume we're done, but I thought we had done it. But no, at the very last, an hour and 10 minutes into this, you kept your record intact. I've never done a show with you in 2020 where you haven't taken a shot at Greta Thunberg. And you did it at the very last there.
Yep. Got it. Oh, I've got Greta Thunberg.
This show had William Shakespeare, Greta Thunberg, Bob Dylan. Like, we covered a lot of ground.
Yes, we hardly
mentioned
Trump or Biden, but man, there's a lot. I didn't even get to the UNLV quarterback who's in trouble because he ate sushi off a naked woman's body on a TV show and was forced to apologize. Could be the least genuine apology ever. I was going to get to that, but maybe we could do that another day. All right, VB. That is VB, who is just kind of hanging around these days.
I'm going to add the V to the hat. I got to get that on.
That's true. Why don't you do? He's wearing his Red Sox cap. But
It's only a matter of time before VB launches his own podcast and gets that Jerry Callahan bump like Tom Shattuck is trying to milk off. You know it's coming. You know it's coming.
Yeah, you and Shattuck are, both of you get like 17 kids running around the house. I don't know how you have time to do it, but you should.
Shattuck texted me over the weekend and said, "Hey, you want to get together?" I said, two things. One is coronavirus. Two, I have 4 of my own. Why do I want your 4 too as well? No, I don't want to get 3. It's you, Shattuck. So no, I don't want to get together.
We don't have time to do this, Cullen. I know you'll be saying, why didn't I do it earlier? But I talked to someone at my old radio station last night, and it is a mess. He was telling me,
yes, I love it.
Just what a mess it is. They got the afternoon show with the feud with Craig Carton, that degenerate, felon, criminal, and nobody's got anyone's back, and they're all fighting, and it's just insane. It's just chaos.
What would you have done before we go? Sorry, what would you have done? You got Boomer Esiason on Monday after NFL football, but he is the former co-host with Craig Carton. After this whole thing is blowing up with WE, and blowing up in quotes because it's not really. But how do you not ask him a question about that? Like, what if you're told by your program director not to do it? What does Jerry Callahan say?
No, you got to do it. You just have to do it, and then you afterwards you fight him on it. But why, they didn't ask him?
I don't believe they did. I didn't. I was listening to the beginning of it and I didn't hear it. So I assumed if it didn't come out the top, it wasn't coming at all.
No, and
but
that's
if Boomer tells you don't. I mean, and you know the guy, Jerry. You've been there where the guy says,
Boomer's recorded, so he could tell you something off, and you could cut it out.
And then you got to say, is it really worth it?
Because Carton went at them, and it was just. I mean, he crossed all the lines. Said the company was going to dump them and rip them for ratings, and just went way, way below the belt. They had every right to come back. I told somebody, I said they should get the police report. They should get every detail of what he did to all his victims and read that on the air. They should track down his victims and have them tell their story on the air. All bets are off. He went over the line. They have every right to fight back in any way they want to. Oh, by the way, before we go, congratulations to Howie Hamptons. Howie Hamptons is agreeing to a new deal with Sirius. That's good news for Ellen or Hillary, because they'll be getting another foot massage from the once great Howie Hamptons, who quite literally sold out and made a fortune. And I'm going to say, I don't blame him. He's my idol. He makes $100 million a year. He lives in the Palm Beach, and he's flying private everywhere he goes. And all he had to do was, forget about his friends and suck up to the establishment and to the powers that be, and it has worked. It was a great career decision.
I've never known a guy who references his idol so much in one breath and then rips said idol in the next breath as much as you do with Howard Stern, Jerry. It's the weirdest thing. How is it your idol when you hate him?
Our price. For $50 million, I would tell Ellen that I think she's a great dancer too. We all have our price. His was pretty high, and he has made a fortune, and he has sold out like nobody I've ever seen before. I mean, he had Hillary Clinton.
But you sound like Bob Dylan truthers. Like, what do you want? What do you expect people to do? Like, it's
you remember Stern when he was at the top of his game?
Really hasn't. It's so dramatic. But do you think if I cut this clip that he'll call you Skeletor again? Because that's maybe some of my favorite Howard Stern content.
That's true. He got all upset at us when we were mocking him, but no, he's above that. He doesn't. His people that work for him aren't allowed to talk to him. They're not. It's like Ellen. Ellen's people who work for Ellen aren't allowed to look at her.
Everybody in Hollywood. Who's the guy that hosts Family Feud? Remember that controversy a couple of years ago? You don't speak to him under any circumstance. A lot of those, once you get to a certain level, I think everybody does that.
Yeah.
Some of your Fox people do that, Jerry. I hate to shed light on this for you, but there's a lot of that.
Who does it? Don't tell me Tucker. Does Tucker do that?
I don't think so with him, no. But there's another one that you like a lot, but sometimes Rip that had that same.
Is she on after Hannity?
I don't know. I'm actually speaking of someone who used to be on Fox, but regardless.
Oh no, I heard Laura when.
Believe me, there's the only one that I believe Matt Lauer had a closed door policy when it came to that, but that was
yes. We're not talking about that. That guy's a violent criminal. We're talking about guys who just sold out and then kissed the ass of the establishment. They're not really, rebels anymore.
Show me the guy who didn't, and I'll tell you a guy you don't know his name. I mean, that's how it is, Jerry. Everybody sells
Nick DiPaolo, that's who has. And we've had him on this podcast before. That's how he's reached the peaks. He's been on my podcast.
Doesn't Belichick own half of Nantucket now? I mean, I think everybody sells out at some point.
Yes, he does. And
or else you're Letterman. You grow a beard like this, and no one knows who you are.
Waiting for my price. That's all. All right, VB, thanks, man. We will talk to you again soon. And thanks to Shea Concrete and Allied Paving and DCU and Flagship. And thanks to everybody for listening. Please subscribe, rate, review, and tell a friend. Anything else, Cullinane?
I just want to congratulate Bill Simmons quickly on winning the Sports Personality of the Year from the Big League.
What did he do to it? I couldn't think of anything he did notable this year. What did he do to earn that? I'm not sure.
He didn't tweet any of his colleagues' work. Actually, he didn't do. Yeah, you're supposed to do. So he didn't do that.
Congratulations. Speaking of getting his price, Bill Simmons sure got his too. And congratulations to him. Big Lead Man of the Year. And LeBron James, I mentioned, was Sportsman of the Year yesterday. I believe he shares it with like 4 other people, all of whom are very, very woke, all of whom hate Trump, love Kaepernick. So congratulations to the bunch of them. I'm sure Sports Illustrated will have a whole issue, stories about all of them, and no one will read a word of it. But congratulations once again to King James. And thanks to everybody again for listening and subscribing. I'm Jerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.